Well, hello.
Hi.
How are things going with this week?
Mm, I'm struggling to find the words for it, to be honest. It feels a bit like flat. There's good things, and newness, I guess is it's not a word, but the vibes there. There's new vibrational energy appearing. It feels like it's within reach and we're accessing it a little bit. But in the overall, feels very slow, very steady, very much like time to rest and time to just recalibrate and get things in order. Almost like you're preparing to go for trial, like getting your affairs in order, or, like something big is coming, whether that's in the collective, whether that's in the society, or whether it's just in your own personal life. Something big is building. But I guess it's us figuring out the pathway and like the route to that doesn't require you having to be doing everything all the time, you know?
Yeah, yeah. What does that feel like in your body?
Abnormal a little bit. I look for things to do because my brain's used to productivity and but then when there is so much to do, I get overwhelmed and don't know where to start and then I get in burnout and just feel like, oh, I'll start tomorrow. But it's a hard vibrational energy to work with because it doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel negative. It doesn't feel
Uh-huh.
like depressing or, anything like that. It just feels a bit hard to bring energy up right now to
Hmm.
bring extra energy to bring it from somewhere to work. I don't know how to explain it, the words are a bit limited, but yeah, I guess in the overall it's just feeling not stagnant but a little bit of the in between.
Got it. Yeah, yeah. I feel like, for one, thank you for that and how you're feeling about the space. I
Oh,
feel
thank
like in my body, it just feels absurdly calm.
you. Yeah.
And like realizing that my body and energy doesn't hit off what it used to, and even though it was used to like the doer and getting the things done,
Yeah.
space in between there now, which I feel like might be the in between voidy space where it's like I don't know, I
Mm.
don't have a concept, a word for what this is feeling like. It's just
Yeah, it's a little bit of all right, like you said, there is waves of deep calm and
uh-huh.
deep peace almost and deep sense of security and connection to self, to knowing, to trust, to everything. But then there's also moments of overwhelm and frustration and discombobulation and almost disconnection in a little sense, feeling like, I don't know, the words are difficult. Not lost, but not
Sure.
certain. Like when I have a vision, I have a vision and I'm kind of hyper focused. Whereas right now, feel like it's the first time I don't have a specific vision, but I also don't feel overwhelmingly stressed about that.
Ah, okay, I get that. That part of the I want to say the space in it where you don't have to have it. It's
Yeah,
not something you're outwardly attached to.
mm.
Yeah,
And
I
not
like that.
constantly needing a purpose. Like, I think it's great to always be working on self and to be doing projects and,
Sure.
working on. I'm always working on the next retreat, the next concept, the next course, the next leveling up. And I do think that's great. But I guess one thing that's really important is to remember that we don't always need to be this ever evolutionizing, again, not a word, but ever evolving spiritual project that we're always hyper focused on fixing. Sometimes that's the ego telling ourselves that we're not good enough because we need to be doing more. We need to be more healed. We
For
need to
sure.
be more connected, more aligned, more communicating, more spiritual. What the fuck even does that look like? You know,
I'm like been there. I will raise my
yeah.
hand.
We've all been there. Like,
Yep.
God, I've been there. And I go in and out of being there. Like, again, the ego, when you see a lot of people doing things around you in that world, you think, oh shit, am I like, should I be doing something? Am I missing out? Am I like,
Yeah. Yeah.
not doing the work, like comparing yourself? And yeah, I guess I was reminded a little bit, I heard something, I was listening to a podcast, and the concept of it being the ego that is always driving us to be a ever progressing project was really interesting to me because I do
Ooh,
that a lot. I kind of do. Right, okay, I don't consciously do it, but say I'm like, right, I've worked through this level, and then I think subconsciously I'm like, right, okay, what's the next thing I need to be healing or releasing or letting go of or
sure.
expanding on or letting go of that program or
Absolutely.
you know, because let's face it, we have fucking years and years of built up programs, trauma, toxification from mind, body, soul, spirit in all their layers. So there is a lot to work through. So I get why, like me, like you, like all of us in this world have gone, shit, we need to be doing this, we need to be doing this, we need to be constantly doing that. But the other day it sat with me that is it not just your presence and your true self when you can just sit with that and be like, this is who I am in this current moment, and I accept and love them wholeheartedly for everything they are representing in this current energy. And then if the things come up, okay, yeah, you work on them when they come up. You don't spiritually bypass, you don't ignore them, you don't think I'm perfect as I am, I don't need to do any work. That's also ego. But it's
Totally.
finding that dance and balance between I don't need to be looking for things to fix all the time. And I
Mm,
also don't need to be ignoring things that come up. I can be accepting and loving exactly who I am in this current moment and having true acceptance of that, whilst
right.
also being aware that the things that come up and are brought to me visibly and emotionally and physically are being brought up for a reason for me to look at. And so it's finding that acceptance of both and knowing
Mhm.
that both can be ego driven. Don't believe just because you want to be working on your spiritual stuff all the time that cannot also be driven from the ego rather than the spirit.
Totally.
And that was a really big concept for me to sit with, even though I know it in other words. Just the way it was put in them words triggered a little bit of a thought in me, like, yeah, don't try so hard to always have to be a better version of you. Accept a little bit more the version you are.
Okay. So, um, not a spiritual bypasser, but I had a word for it and then it left. I was all excited about it.
Hey, my bad. I'll get to bring it back up.
Okay. I got it. The spiritual fixer then.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that fixed that face. I've definitely played that role. I can take accountability for that for sure. Uh,
right.
and not knowing it too, like there's these facets and parts and pieces where, as I'm uncovering myself further and further and how I interacted, like the spiritual language was the closest thing I had to what I was experiencing through my body. Right.
Mm,
And I clung to that because that's what helped me move through that point. And then realizing, okay, now I'm doing some of that in spiritual bypassing. I'm going to pull this back into, okay, what am I actually feeling in this space? And how, if I don't have words for it, can I make them up? What does that look like in my body? And can I accept the fact that that is something that happened for one thing, because it's part of my process. And sometimes that does get a little bit hard when you're looking back and you're like, well, fuck.
Gucci. Yeah, no, I totally
I,
agree. Totally agree. And I guess a good question for us because we have been doing this work for a conscious little bit, you know, and I'm sure some people that are watching this have. But if you are, I guess the concept came up the other day. I was talking on my Tuesday night group. My brain feels scattered tonight. Usually I'm in full flow, but my brain feels
love it.
slow. Like I'm getting little drabs, and then like, come on, like I need to finish the sentence. Like, hello, can you speed up a bit? um, yeah. Sorry, going back. So yeah, we was on about the whole concept of I can't remember what brought the initial spark, but it's relevant to this. And the initial idea was why do we are constantly working on self and constantly evolving. And I guess if you are newer to the concept of it, it is understanding that there has been so many attempts to keep us at a physical densification level.
Mhm.
And that was not just through the recent things in 2020. That was like the biggest attempt visibly.
Sure.
But so subtle through the water, the air, the food, the clothes, programming, media, schooling. Everything was with the intention to keep our physical vessels at a densification and a like a frequency, a level, physical vibrating level that could not, even no matter how far the spirit went and the soul went, they could not physically catch up the body because it was filled with too much toxification and heavy metals, things that kept it physically dense.
Right.
And so part of this ascension process, I guess, the whole dance has been getting to a level where the body feels aligned to the spirit. And this is why we've seen a lot of people in the spiritual awakening go through what we'd call mental illness and like severe mental illness, psychosis, or hallucination or schizophrenia. Like we're seeing a lot of that being diagnosed in the spiritual world. And in my opinion, that came from people's spirits, people's souls progressing at a faster rate than the physical body could keep up to.
Mm,
So
mm,
they were receiving information all the time. I knew two people specifically that ended up being hospitalized for mental illness when they was going through a spiritual awakening, but too much too soon, and their
mhm.
bodies could not process it, and they could not be human. They could not function and communicate normally and appear normally as a human, what is normal. But
Sure.
have hold a simple conversation and have a meal and function without being erratic and getting downloads, but not being able to. I get a download, me and you get downloads. We go,
Human
all right,
body.
what's that? Yeah, like let's have a look
Yeah.
at that. Let's feel that.
Yeah.
Let's sit with that.
Yeah.
Let's pick it.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I should share that at this point. We don't just get, oh, I'm getting this and I'm seeing this and I'm saying, oh, this, and that's what was happening because there
Yeah.
was so much coming in, and then
Yeah.
people were seeing darker stuff because it was being get fought in that timeline. And so
Hmm.
they were seeing it and not understanding it. No one understanding it around them, so everyone else thinks they're crazy. And what a dance it was for them people. And a lot of them, I know personally, couldn't find a balance, so they ended up going back to more of a 3D human, which you got to do what you got to do to survive, and I understand that. And the soul obviously decided it was too much for their journeys to continue at that pace. But I guess the reason why I'm looping it round is it puts on a pressure to be that spiritual fix, or it did for me specifically in myself, of like, not that I always knew I'm not going to like be cut off on the time of the ascension or anything like that, but it felt like I need to always be keeping up, if that makes sense. Like I need to always be at the same level of the collective of like getting rid of stuff and working on my stuff. And if I felt like I was behind, I'd feel like shame or like let down, like a failure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had to work with that and sit with that and realize we are all on our own pace and our own journey at the same time.
Hmm.
And some of it is being consciously aware and putting in the intentional effort to better your shit. Like, you just got to kind of look at yourself a little bit and make better choices sometimes. But some of it is also just letting shit be and letting it naturally take its own time. Like, again, we talk about the nervous system a lot, but the
Hmm.
nervous system is not on a time schedule. It works when it feels safe, and when it feels safe for a bit a
Exactly.
period of time where it doesn't think, well, I've got to be on guard, I've got to be, it works where it goes, okay, yeah, this has been safe for a little while now. I'm still going to be a little bit on edge, but I can let that, and this is where the layers of the onion come in, because the nervous
Yeah.
system only lets out and lets you have available in your own body what it's safe to express.
Exactly.
And that I do think is a personal thing and in like independent on your own journey thing. But I also think as a collective, because we are doing it at a similar time, we are then being able to support conversations, be more vulnerable, hold space for each other in ways we've never been able to do as like a community collective before.
Right.
In some
Right.
of the overalls, I'm not saying everybody, but in a lot of things I've seen changing over the years, even just like being able to talk about your feelings. I'm not saying they have to understand the quantum levels of your soul, but just being able to communicate,
Yep.
oh, I felt like this years ago, and this happened to me, and now I'm realizing that I was holding this and I was living in survival, and being able to have these conversations is
Right.
so healing for us, for them, for everyone, which then in turn creates it being a collective thing. And my whole point is, you don't need to be consciously trying to do the work every day because it's happening anyways. And if you're on
Yeah.
this ascension path, you kind of signed up to do it. Like if you chose to come on the ride of ascension, you're going to be doing it anyways, whether you choose to do it or not. And so basically chill out a little bit if you are like us and you constantly, like we were used to constantly trying to fix and do and be the better, just chill, like set back a little bit, enjoy who you are, enjoy where you are, this version of you, this time, this place, this
Yeah.
energy that you're in. Be in it, enjoy it a little bit more, see things when they come up, work through them when they come up, but just be more present. That was the point.
Circle it.
We
To
fucking
be
got there in the end.
present.
God, that was a long one.
Um, I feel like, and I appreciate your perspective greatly. I have a little bit of a different perspective when it comes to the ascension process by doing my own work and looking at like this spiritual ascension and what that kind of meant from what I was hearing and perceiving outside of myself, and then having to go deep inside to go like, where am I going to ascend? I mean, my body was like, girl, I'm going to tell you right now that how I experience the world, how I've worked with my facets or my skill sets, who I've worked with, have all kind of taught me that all of those things are, especially, and if we've heard this, it's not outside of yourself, it's inside yourself. So my body has been pretty excited about, you know what, my soul is really integrating and descending into my body so I can hold all of that. I don't have to go anywhere to do it. And by me
Mhm.
telling myself that, I get to take a breath because I don't have to do anything, right? I'm like, I don't have to go out there. I don't have to like constantly try and try and try. Be a prover, be a people pleaser. All those masks are now dissolving themselves within my body. And it's, do I have the capacity then to be able to hold my perspective, to hold your perspective, to hold
Mhm.
someone else's perspective? And have the ability to connect that way. Because if your bodies can hold that without getting triggered or defensive or like, oh my gosh, this person's gonna bring something up, then I can see your point of view, I can connect with you, and I can also co-create with you. Because then, like,
Yeah.
where can we go then? Because
Mhm.
I'm not trying to like control your journey or try and see you in that light, right? I'm in my own space here, in my own lane. And then I'm like, okay, we can build here then because we can hold our own.
Right, right. And that is very true. And it is, for me, that I feel like that's very in the same alignment, just slightly different words. So I totally get that. It's, you do figure out along the way of trying that trying is not always the way, and sometimes it's just trusting is a better way. It's trusting that everything, every ways, every path, every doorway, every choice, it's very rare I feel like I have to question my every choice. I know that a lot of my every single little choice is leading me to alignment because I am living in alignment. It's when I feel fear and worry and panic associated with a
Right.
choice that I have to question the alignment of it because there's already mixed feelings and conflicting 3D emotions that are making me question it in the first place. And that's when I have to feel like, is this in my alignment? Is this what's right for me? Is because it's been clouded by fear in some way or some form of program. And so that's when I kind of do that little bit of a check in. But I guess it's like difficult at the moment because everybody else, when I keep bringing it back to the collective, I do feel like people are being asked to sit with their shit right now, sit with their bodies, sit with their nervous system, sit with their pain. And it's not exactly pretty. There's a lot of people angry and hurt and in their inner child. And their inner child for me is their child version of them, like their little child version, not just the adult they're in now, the human, the actual child. And I see it a lot at the moment how they're feeling hurt, they're feeling unable to communicate, unable to voice their stuff, and in the little moods and in the little. But I know it's not intentional projecting, and I know it's not intentional to hurt other people. But in the turn, it's also knowing how much of this do I actually allow to affect me and my energy,
Yes. Yep.
and how much of it do I choose to consent to without either putting a boundary in place. And when that's been tried and it's not exactly successful, then alternative steps sometimes do need to be taken, even if it's just to create change for that period of time.
Right. That was a huge question we were talking about earlier is within our bodies. And of course, everybody, please, again, this is our perspectives. We want you to choose your own and your own pathway and question yourself in your own body. This just directs back to earlier we were talking about like within our systems and how our bodies are coming up with others in connection and projection. How much are we taking in? How much do we want a boundary off? Like, what is that looking like for you? How are you taking like that in? How's your body taking that?
I mean, I definitely think I still initially react in either fight or flight. I kind of initially react in, I don't want to deal with this right now. How can I get out of it and not have to be in conflict? Or, damn, I'm going to have to put a boundary in place and that's going to be a firm one because
Yeah.
sometimes I must admit I'm still mastering that vulnerable. Listen, that really upset me, and I need to put a boundary in place. Like, I struggle, really do. That is one of my biggest things, is in that initial moment of being triggered, in that initial moment of feeling my own emotional reaction to something, I am instantly in defense for safety.
Mhm.
It feels like a safety thing, especially when it's triggered by the same environment, people, patterns, programs that created the trigger trauma response in the first place. There's an amplified level of defense there for my
Mhm.
inner child. Like, well, no, we're not doing this again. I'm not going to feel like this again. It comes up more firm. And I guess some of it has been initially first fight and then flight and then communication after the fact, a few hours later on. Usually non confrontational, so non physically in the face, maybe through text or through a phone call later on. That seems to be a good middle ground for me. Now I know that's not like perfect for everyone, and there's probably people out there way more mastered than I am right now. But vulnerability is a big thing for me when it's
Uh-huh.
not been met with any receptivity throughout my life ever. So I guess my system is still learning that it's safe and it's okay for that to be my natural go-to response. My instant reaction is safety and protection, and so that's where my body's currently at. But I also think sometimes, depending on the environment of where you're dealing with and who you're dealing with, sometimes it's a bit necessary. Like, I don't mean it in a bad
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure.
Sometimes that, like, will back off a bit, needs to be shown so that, like, and I'm not saying any way anybody's a bully, but do you know when they say meet a bully with that firm energy of you're not going to bully
Yep.
me, and
Yep.
then you bully, and it's true, people do it all the time. People think they can over dominate your energy, you
Totally.
show up with your presence and they stop. And it's the same kind of thing. Sometimes I'm like, listen, if you're not going to hear me when I am actually, because I did try and communicate it verbally a few times, in this instance, like,
Yep.
I'm not comfortable with that, da da da. And it wasn't listened to multiple times. And then I was like, you're not been listening to me, and I put the
Yeah.
boundary in
Oh
place.
yeah.
And I
Yep.
guess that was necessary because it got that, well, stop what you're doing, stop doing the shutdown, listen for a minute, digest what's being said, and then reflect upon that. And sometimes, unfortunately, in the current world we live in, which is not perfect and rainbows and sunshine, sometimes that is a method of communication that is met with more receptivity than emotional vulnerability, unfortunately.
I mean, I would agree with that, and I don't think it's unfortunate either. I think it's a natural facet of how, in certain cases, we need to protect ourselves and our boundaries. What we stand for. What does that look like? I'd have to say for me, it depends on the case. If something occurs and I'm getting really flared in my body, then I'm going to take that step aside for a second before I even say a word. I'm not even going to go there because I want to look at my side of the story before. Uh, and then, that depends if somebody is like projecting and being a bully, which I've definitely encountered, or I've been vulnerable with somebody and all of a sudden that gets twisted and thrown back. Like anybody experienced that? Or even done it? We all have our facets here to look through, and there's no right or wrong to the story. But if that is also being the case, it's okay, where's my truth in this? How do I stand in this? Like what constructs might have gotten built up or triggered in that point that I can take a look at before I respond to it. And sometimes that's a like, no, this is a clear, clean boundary. I'm not going to take that type of energy. in my existence. So,
Well,
yeah,
it's
and this goes back to again, everybody has their perspective, opinion, how they want to flow with that, and I appreciate everybody and where they're at with that and how they want to perceive. I get to then take that perception and feel if that's right or not for me and decide whether I want to communicate or have a point with that connection or if something needs to shift, right?
yeah. And I appreciate your reflection there because I've communicated this a few times. You know, I have a couple of people with a lot going on right now. And I guess sometimes it's seen that I have more time for them and more empathy and more space than others would give.
Uh-huh.
Others that, you know their worth and stand in self-love. And again, this is in no disrespect to either perspective. But I am a bit of a softie and I won't say that's without love for self.
Yeah,
Sometimes it comes from a place of trying to create space for people to have the option to expand in a way I knew I needed a little bit of space held for me at
sure,
times,
sure.
which would have been fucking wonderful, you know, and a lot of the time it wasn't available. And so I
Yeah,
guess I'm trying to offer what I wanted available for me in the world. And that sounds a little bit selfish, but I'll own it because it's not for me at this time. It's more to offer that option. You know, I do a lot of it in pregnancy, in birthing, and then postpartum. It's been a huge thing. But even like just with certain friends and family members, I find I have more understanding, more acceptance, more ability to be like, all right, I know you're in a pissy mood and I'm not going to take it personally. And usually
yeah,
within 5 minutes of being in my frequency, their energy matches up to that anyways, and we're laughing and joking 10 minutes later.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't get offended by their moods, their upsetment, their frustration, their all the stuff they're doing in them first 10 minutes. If it continued and then it was put upon me, then yeah, we'd have an issue. Like there's a line, and this is why
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
explaining
yeah,
it because it's
of course.
like, I can sit with it for a little bit of time and I can hold space for you to shift into another frequency. But if it's then a continuous thing, every time we meet up, all the time, continuously trying to intent like lower my frequency, then no, I'm not going to roll with that, obviously. But if it's like I've experienced a lot lately, they're going through a lot. They need someone to talk to. They need someone that's not going to judge them, not going to criticize them. And the
Sure.
nervous system needs 10 minutes or so to know this is a safe environment to open up.
Absolutely.
I kind of been happy to do that lately. I've been happy to go, do you know what? You need about 10 minutes to know that my presence is not going to judge you, shout at you, do anything. I'm just going to put around, do my thing. I'm here when you want to talk. I'll ask you a few questions if you want, if I feel the energy is right to open up. And then it'll probably open up from there. But that for me feels, I'm okay doing that. I'm happy to do that. I don't feel that burdens me. I don't feel like that's draining me. At the end of it, I actually feel like I'm really glad I did that. I'm really glad I could help make a difference in their life today and help
Yeah,
change that sadness and pain into something a bit more hopeful and a bit more,
right.
joyful. And so, yeah, I guess I just wanted to bring that up because that's not me saying you have to do that. Because I have a friend that's like, oh no, I couldn't take that energy on. As soon as I see it, I'm like, I can't be dealing with that. It's too much for me, projection and negativity. And I get it. Like, I get both sides.
Sure,
It's
sure.
not nice to have to be around that every time you see someone for the first 10 minutes of the time. But also,
Right.
maybe what they're going through is not very nice. And maybe they just need something right now, someone to just be able to talk to.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So that, and I appreciate that. That sounds to me like giving like a 10-minute breath,
Yeah,
right?
right.
For the space to be shifted into safety. Now, you said this a few times, and this is extraordinarily important for me and my body. If my body is not safe, forget vulnerability, forget communication, forget pretty much anything. What we done? Right.
Legit.
So then it's just what tools do y'all have for yourself? What have you guys all worked with that might put your system into a regulated space or even if it doesn't feel safe. I know for me, if I'm in a crowded space or things like I've got to separate myself for a second, make sure I have a calm space that I feel safe. Sometimes I just jumping in my car,
Yeah.
right, to give me that time and space, or with people. For me, especially lately, because communication has been a really big deal on moving through these processes, is hey, this is not time and space for me to be talking right now. I'm not available for that. My system's not feeling safe, and I'll let you know when I am available for it.
Mhm.
And could be an appreciation. Sometimes the trigger is kind of silly or something like that, and I'm like, yep, nope, still my body's still doing a thing. So,
Yeah. And we have to honor that. And that's you vouching for your inner child, vouching for your inner self, honoring your own self. And that's what I feel like in this current limbo phase, if you want to call it, because this new energy of the new year is like the charging flaming horse, whatever it was. You know,
yeah,
it is definitely bringing them vibes of like fast paced change, illuminating the things around us, creating the creative passion and power to do that and create the change. But we're not, I just feel like we're not quite there yet. And just before we get there, it's clearing out these things, these stuff. How do you want to be? Who do you want to be? How do you want to show up? You know, how do you want to be perceived? How are you honoring your own feelings and your own bodily expression?
right.
And how can we voice that a little bit more? And using this time of kind of in the middle phase and this limbo phase to put and implement them changes in place.
Yeah. And that's different for everybody. And again, encouragement to find that yourself. That's definitely been a deep process for me of like, okay, well, how am I going to do that? And for me, that's my body expressing more of itself and its visibility without the mask, right?
Yeah.
Incrementally. I'm going
Yeah.
to show up a little bit different because I've learned that at this point, there's no use in hiding certain facets, right? Those are dissolving. All those constructs, programs are dissolving, and can I be naturally myself for longer periods of time? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like I'm gonna isolate in my space. Forget y'all.
Yeah. And that's what I was just gonna say. Like, I love the what you said about how can I be most like authentically me. Almost that was the gist of it. It's you don't need to be again going back to what we are saying. This fixer in this, or how can I be healing and working through this and sitting with this and fighting it? No, sometimes being most authentically you, honoring your boundaries, being the best version of you is ignoring the phone because you can't deal with being people in right now, as I call it. You know,
Right,
I can't
right,
deal with the mask. I don't want to have to put a mask on right now. I want to just exist in my current energy without having to be polite and nice and kind and ask questions that I'm not really interested in and hold conversations that right now I don't have the energetic capacity
totally.
for. So sometimes instead of answering the phone and explaining that, I just don't fucking answer the phone. And I don't give myself guilt or shame about that because this is all part of being in that in that moment. My authentic energy did not want to even explain that. I did not even want to have to find the words to
Sure.
articulate the fact that I'm not up for talking right now. You know, I just wanted to be not involved in anybody else's energy. And I'm allowed to do that. That's not making you a bad human or a bad friend. You know, just give them a text the next day or later on that day or whatever and say, oh, you know, you all right? Did you call? Like, you don't need to
Right, right.
constantly be available for everyone or everything or even for your own self stuff. If you plan to do something, you wake up, you feel absolutely exhausted and drained, allow yourself to rest that day, reschedule some things for yourself
Yeah,
to honor your own expression, your own needs. This is all what it's about at the moment, is figuring out how we can be a little bit more authentic and honoring our truest self and voicing that.
yeah. Our own needs. It's a big self-exploration that keeps shifting, at least for me, daily. Where my system all of a sudden has the realization, okay, that's not going to work, but this is going to work now. This is what I need in this, or I'm going to refine this and get more direct on what I do need in this space and what isn't going to work for me. Like
Yeah.
what I have been taking for all these years, in within myself, as far as in connection, being criticized or blamed or whatever the case is. Some, as an example, that doesn't work for me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
All these little tiny parts and pieces coming back into that for you to understand what is going to work, what's not going to work. How do I self honor this in my own space first and foremost? How do I self honor that with others? What does that look like? How do I hold my boundaries? And then also, like, I just want to bring in too, like, as we're heading into, at least from my perspective, into this space of like just being, like I'm just being, and I can see this with others too. Like we're kind of in this space of like, oh, I can just be, and that's okay,
Yeah.
right? Adding some humor and fun and joy periods that kind of fly through there because there's more calm and peace in your nervous system, I feel is coming through. Where like I
Yeah,
can have these moments where like I'm so ecstatic and joyful and I can hold that and I can also have the drop at the same time and hold that experience too. Um, I feel like my body's having the capacity to be able to do more and more of that
yeah,
kind of in one go.
I love that. I love the way you worded that too, because we have to remember that that's all part of the human experience, the
Hmm.
ups and the downs, and the more we fight any of the waves of it, the aim should not be neutrality, in my opinion. We're not here to be a neutral human. You know, we're here to be mixed with a whole mixture of vibration, a whole connection of energy, and again, the waves of the up and down. And I guess the whole point of that is to be able to hold that in our bodies. And that does require some time. It definitely does. It requires some time, some space, and the ability to move with the difficult times as well as moving with the joy. We didn't just come here to have the joy.
Exactly. Yep.
Mm.
It's a whole experience. And I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want one without the other. Like that would
No,
be
no, because we
uh,
wouldn't have the overwhelming feeling of the good and the love if we'd not experienced anything contrary to it.
mhm. So what I'm trying to say is I like contrast.
Yeah, I think we need it. I do think we
Yeah,
need it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, this has been a really good chat. How you feeling about it?
Yeah, I'm really good. I got a notification that the battery was low. I had to knock it off. It must have not plugged the wire in properly. Um, yeah, I guess my overall reflection is because it's been a bit. We've talked like a little bit of all over things tonight, but I guess my overall reflection is there is no need to be doing anything right now other than being in the present moment. You know, the holidays are coming up, depending on how much you connect with them. I like to celebrate. I like being with my family. I like eating good food. I like music and I like making things and doing crafts with the kids and family time. I like that stuff. So I don't mind celebrating with good intention. I just don't buy into commercialism that much. So I just find my own connection to it. But enjoy this time of slowing down. I always try and look for stuff to do in the peaceful times, and then I'm still tired when the fast pace picks up, and I'm like, why did I do that? Take the time to rest now, do the little bits that are coming up, get your affairs in order, get that recalibration time, and just find a way to kind of be more present.
Be more present. And overall, everybody, I appreciate you so much. Please question yourselves. Please question us. Bring some things up for yourself that might help you find some more clarity within your own journey and presence.
Presence, darling. No, but
Love.
the word presents are going to be thrown around a lot. And I always say, don't hyperfixate on the presence, focus on your presence because it's important. Being there is going to last more in
Love
someone's
that.
memory. It is being there is going to last way more in someone's memory, especially your children's, than it is you buying all this overload of gifts and having to work more money, more time to make more money to buy the gifts. Being there, in my opinion, is more valuable. And I'm not saying obviously don't buy any gifts, but just don't overdo it in that I have to catch up with everyone else.
There we go.
My battery's running low, guys. We gotta go.
Love you all very much.